Hey guys, tonight we're pulling an all-nighter on the graveyard shift, the kind where the city forgets its own name and the streetlights blink like they're trying to remember. Rain taps on the squad car windows in a slow, uneven Morse code, and the radio static hums low in my ear like a lullaby I never asked for. The dashboard glow paints everything the color of old bruises, and every alley we pass exhales fog that smells faintly of rust and wet concrete. You probably won't make it to dawn after this one. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I always check, especially when the clock ticks past 3 a.m. and the world feels thinner. Now, dim the lights, maybe crack open a window for that midnight fog, and let's hit the streets together. The call comes in at 12:17 a.m., dispatch's voice flat, and bored the way it gets when the caller won't give a name. Unit 14, possible 10 to 57 at the old Meridian warehouse on Dock Street. Caller hung up mid-sentence. A 10 to 57 is a missing person, but the way she says it, mid-sentence, makes the hairs on my neck lift. I acknowledge, flip on the wipers, and ease the cruiser toward the river. Dock Street is where the city's memory goes to rot. Rusted cranes, broken windows, and the smell of low tide that never quite leaves your clothes. I've worked graveyard for 8 years, and the Meridian warehouse is the one place rookies still dare each other to flashlight tag. Rumor says a dock worker vanished inside in '78, swallowed by a loading bay that wasn't on any blueprint. Urban legend, sure, but the precinct basement still has the missing person poster, edges curled like burnt paper. I park nose into the chain link gate, engine idling so the headlights carve tunnels through the fog. The warehouse squats ahead, 3 stories of cracked brick and darkness so thick it feels solid. My boots crunch on gravel as I step out, the sound too loud, like I'm announcing myself to something that's been waiting. Standard procedure. I radio in my 10 to 20, unclip my flashlight, and sweep the beam across the loading dock. Nothing but puddles reflecting my own silhouette back at me, warped and stretched. Curiosity tugs first. Maybe it's just kids, maybe a transient looking for shelter. I've cleared this place a dozen times. Nothing ever turns up except rat nests and graffiti that reads like confessions. Inside, the air is colder than outside, the kind of cold that finds the gaps in your uniform and settles against your skin. My flashlight picks out conveyor belts frozen mid-collapse, chains dangling like nooses. The silence is wrong. No dripping pipes, no wind through broken panes, just the soft click of my own footsteps. I sweep left, then right, and that's when I hear it. A single, deliberate scrape, metal on concrete, coming from the far corner. I freeze. Police, I call, voice steadier than my pulse. Come out slow. Nothing. Another scrape, closer. Curiosity flips to fear in the space of a heartbeat. My free hand hovers over the Glock I hope I won't need. I edge forward, beam trembling just enough to betray me. The corner opens into a loading bay exactly where the blueprints say it shouldn't be. A rusted forklift sits crooked, and beneath it lies a shape too deliberate to be debris. I kneel, flashlight beam pooling on a sheriff's badge. Old style, pre-1980, the eagle still sharp. It's pinned to a scrap of uniform shirt, dark with something that might be blood or might be oil. My stomach tilts. I've never seen this before, but the nameplate reads J. Carver, the same name from the '78 poster. I reach for it, and the metal is warm, impossibly warm, like it's been clutched in a living hand. That's when the radio in my ear hisses to life without dispatch, a whisper, genderless, close enough to fog my earpiece. You're late, deputy. My own call sign follows, clear as a fingerprint. Fear hardens into something colder. I stand, sweeping the beam in frantic arcs, but the bay is empty. The badge is still in my hand, heavier now, And when I look again, the uniform scrap has writing on it. Fresh ballpoint, my handwriting. Dock Street, 12:17 a.m. I didn't write that. I couldn't have. The realization hits like a slap. Whatever called this and knew I'd answer. Knew I'd find this. Knew I'd read my own future scrawled on decades-old cloth. I think some crimes were never meant to be solved. I backpedal toward the exit, boots slipping on unseen slickness, and the scrape follows, patient, unhurried, always one corner behind. The fog outside has thickened, swallowing my cruiser's headlights whole. I reach the door, shove through, and the night air tastes like metal. The badge is still warm. The warehouse door swings shut behind me with a clang that echoes like a judge's gavel. I radio in a 10 to 98, request backup, but the channel is nothing but faint static now, static that almost sounds like breathing. My cruiser idles where I left it, but the driver's seat is wet, a single handprint steaming on the vinyl. I didn't sit there. I stare at the print, then at the badge, and the fog presses against the windows like it wants in. Curiosity is gone. Fear is a passenger now, riding shotgun with eyes I can't see. I slide behind the wheel, lock the doors out of habit more than hope, and the dashboard clock flips to 12:17 a.m. again. Same minute, same rain, same warehouse breathing behind me. I grip the steering wheel until my knuckles bleach, and the radio whispers once more. Shifts just starting, deputy. I peel out from the warehouse lot, gravel spitting under the tires like accusations, and the fog clings to the cruiser as if it's trying to hold me back. The badge from the uniform scrap burns a hole in my pocket, warm metal that shouldn't be, a relic from a case closed before I was born. I glance in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the warehouse door swing open again. But it's just swirling mist and the faint outline of rusted cranes fading into nothing. The dashboard clock still reads 12:17 a.m., frozen like a bad joke, but I tell myself it's the humidity shorting the circuits. Standard shift schedule, graveyard runs from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., with mandatory check-ins every hour. I missed my last one. Dispatch should be riding me by now, but the radio stays silent, that same faint static from earlier humming like a distant swarm. I head back toward the precinct, the rain picking up, drumming on the roof in uneven bursts. Curiosity nags at me. What if the badge is a plant, some punk's idea of a prank? I've seen it before. Rookies hazing the veterans with stage scenes, fake blood from the evidence locker. But the handwriting on the cloth was mine. I recognized the loop in the D for Dock Street. I fished the scrap out at a red light, spread it on the passenger seat under the dome light. The ink looks fresh, not faded. I crumple it, shove it back with the badge, and crank the heat to shake off the chill that settled in my bones. The radio crackles then, not with dispatch's clipped tone, but with a burst of static that resolves into voices. Multiple, overlapping, like a crossed frequency. Unit 14, Carver, late again. My name, my full name, woven in there, but distorted, as if spoken underwater. I grab the mic. Dispatch, this is 14. Repeat last transmission. Silence. Then more static, laced with whispers. He's coming. Through the alleys. Always through the alleys. Fear prickles up my spine. That's not protocol. Dispatch never editorializes. I switch channels, but it's the same, ghostly chatter bleeding through. I pull over under a flickering street lamp, the light buzzing like angry bees, and pop the glove box for the radio manual. Realistic anchor. Our system is analog, prone to interference from nearby ports or storms. But this feels targeted, like the airwaves are eavesdropping on my thoughts. The whispers grow clearer, piecing together a narrative that shouldn't exist. Suspect last seen 78. Meridian vanished mid-shift. It's recounting the Carver case, word for word from the old file I'd skimmed once in the basement archives. Except now it's adding details. Badge left behind. For the next one. My hand tightens on the mic until the plastic creaks. The supernatural creeps in slow. A voice that sounds like my own, older, wearier, joins the chorus. You should have stayed home tonight, deputy. It's calling my name again, full first and last, the way no one at the station does. I kill the radio, twist the knob to off, but the static persists, faint but insistent, emanating from the speakers like they're alive. I drive on, the city blurring past, empty sidewalks, shuttered storefronts, the occasional cat's eyes glinting from storm drains. The fog thickens downtown, turning headlights into diffuse halos. I think about calling it in on my cell, but service is spotty on Graveyard. Towers glitch out after midnight, or so the rumor goes. Another burst. Turn left at Elm. He's waiting. Elm Street is 2 blocks up. Curiosity overrides protocol. I veer left, the cruiser handling sluggish, as if the fog has weight. The alley off Elm is a narrow throat between brick tenements, garbage bins like sentinels. I ease in, high beams slicing through, and there, a figure at the far end, back turned, shoulders hunched in what looks like an old sheriff's jacket. Police. Hands where I can see them. I bark, stepping out, flashlight in one hand, the other on my hip. The figure doesn't move. Fear coils tight. Suspects who don't react are the dangerous ones. High, armed, or worse. I advance, boots splashing in puddles that reflect the street lamp in oily shards. The whispers from the radio follow me, even though the cruiser's off, closer, just like Carver. 10 feet away, the figure turns, slow, deliberate, and it's not a face I see, but a void, shadowed under a brimmed hat that matches the 78 poster. No features, just darkness where eyes should be, and a badge glinting on the chest. J. Carver. I back up, beam shaking, and the figure mirrors me, step for step, but inverted, like a reflection in a warped mirror. The radio in my earpiece. How is it on? Hisses. You are the suspect now. Revelation crashes in. This isn't a prank or interference. It's a loop, a cursed broadcast pulling me into a vanishing act that's been replaying for decades. The figure whispers my name, voice syncing with the static, and I bolt for the cruiser, slamming the door just as a hand, cold, insubstantial, brushes the window, leaving a smear that fogs from the inside. I gun it out of the alley, tires screeching, heart hammering against my ribs. The rear view shows nothing but fog swallowing the figure whole. The radio falls silent, but the static lingers in my ears, a tinnitus of dread. I think some crimes were never meant to be solved. They solve you instead. Back on the main drag, I head for the precinct, the badge in my pocket pulsing warm again, like a heartbeat not my own. The clock finally ticks forward, 12:18 a.m. 1 minute. 1 eternal minute. The whispers might be gone, but I feel them waiting, coiled in the airwaves for the next call. The precinct looms ahead, a squat brick fortress with sodium lights buzzing over the lot. I park crooked, kill the engine, and sit there, hands trembling on the wheel. The rain eases to a drizzle, tapping codes I don't want to decipher. Curiosity about the whispers pulls me inside. Maybe the logs will show something, a glitch, a hack. But fear whispers back. What if the logs show nothing? What if I'm the only one hearing? I clip the radio back on, test it, dispatch, 14 checking in. Normal response, bored tone. No mention of earlier chatter. I exhale, but it's shallow, incomplete. Inside, the bullpen is empty. Graveyard means skeleton crew. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting shadows that stretch too far. I head for the dispatch room, boots echoing on linoleum worn thin by 1,000 shifts. The dispatcher, Marlene, glances up from her console, coffee steaming. "Rough one already?" she asks, eyes flicking to my face. I nod, lean on the counter. "Any weird calls tonight?" "Interference," She shakes her head, logs clean. But when she turns the screen, I see it. A single entry at 12:17, caller ID blocked, voice memo attached. She plays it, static, then my voice. You're late, deputy. Her eyes widen. That's not from here. Fear spikes anew. The mythic element solidifies. This isn't tech. It's a haunt, a vanished suspect broadcasting from wherever lost deputies go. I back away, the hallway seeming longer, the stairwell to the basement yawning like a mouth. Revelation. Carver didn't vanish. He echoed, waiting to pull the next shift into the static. I pocket the badge tighter, feel its warmth spread, and descend the stairs, the whispers faint but returning, calling me deeper. The stairwell to the precinct basement spirals down like a forgotten vein, the air thickening with each step, musty, laced with the faint tang of mildew and yellowed paper. Fluorescent bulbs flicker overhead, casting my shadow in stuttering leaps against the cinderblock walls. I clutch the badge in my pocket, its unnatural warmth seeping through the fabric like a fever dream, and the whispers from the radio still echo in my head, faint but persistent, urging me deeper. The bullpen upstairs feels miles away now, Marlene's puzzled stare a fading memory as I descend. Precinct layout is straightforward. Main floor for ops, upstairs for admin, basement for archives and cold storage. It's where unsolved cases go to gather dust, filed by year and type. Accessible only with a keycard that beeps like a reluctant confession. I swipe in, the door clicking open with a pneumatic sigh, and the motion sensor lights hum to life row by row, illuminating steel shelves that stretch into gloom. Curiosity draws me here. Maybe the Carver file holds answers, a glitch in the system explained by some overlooked detail. I've pulled files before on slow nights. Procedure requires logging the pull, but tonight I skip it, my handprint still fresh on the log from. When? The clock on the wall reads 12:19 a.m., ticking forward at last, but it feels mocking, like time is indulging me. I navigate to the 1970s aisle, boots scuffing on concrete that's cracked in patterns resembling veins. The air down here is cooler, textured with the grit of undisturbed dust, and my flashlight, clipped to my belt, swings beams that catch motes dancing like tiny specters. Row 7, Shelf C, Missing Persons 78. The file box is where it should be, labeled in faded Sharpie. But as I pull it down, a cascade of folders tumbles. Not accidental, deliberate, like they've been waiting to spill. I kneel, gathering them, and that's when fear edges in. The files aren't random. Each one bears a tab with streets from my patrol route tonight. Dock, Elm, now Precinct Way. Dates span decades, but the summaries are identical. Officer responds to anonymous call, finds relic, vanishes mid-shift. My breath catches. This isn't coincidence. I spread them on the metal table under a swinging bulb, the light flickering as if breathing. The Carver file opens first, pages brittle, but fresh notes in the margins. My handwriting again, static calls. Alley pursuit. Basement next. The supernatural unfurls slow, a mythic twist in the mundane. As I read, the pages rearrange themselves. I blink, rub my eyes. Fatigue, maybe. But no, the sheets slide under my fingers, unbidden, forming a new sequence. Photos now show the warehouse, the alley figure, even my cruiser parked outside tonight. Time-stamped 12:17 a.m. impossible. These are originals, sealed since '78. A chill races up my arms, the kind that makes your badge feel like a target. I sweep the flashlight around. Shadows pool in the corners, deeper than they should be, and from one, a faint rustle, like papers turning on their own. Who's there? I whisper, voice swallowed by the shelves. No answer, but another file slips from a high shelf, landing open at my feet. A map of the city, my route highlighted in red ink that smells fresh, wet. Fear sharpens, my hand drifting to the Glock again, the cold metal grounding me. Standard procedure for anomalies. Report up, but the radio on my shoulder hisses only static now. That same breathing undertone. I think some crimes were never meant to be solved. They rewrite themselves, pulling you into the narrative. The rearranged files point to a pattern. Every 10 years, an officer echoes Carver's path, drawn by whispers, relics, vanishing into the fog. The last one, a deputy in '08, file notes, heard own voice on dispatch, pursued shadow suspect. Matches my night exactly. Revelation builds as I flip faster. The mythic element crystallizes. These aren't just files. They're a cursed archive, alive, predicting and trapping. The next page shows a sketch of the void-faced figure, badge gleaming, and below it, my name typed fresh. Next, Unit 14. I stand abruptly, chair scraping loud enough to echo like a gunshot. The lights dim then, not all at once, but sequentially, plunging rows into dark one by one, herding me toward the exit. Or deeper. Curiosity wars with fear. I grab the Carver file, stuff it under my arm, and move, quick, purposeful, toward the stairwell. But the shelves seem to shift, aisles narrowing, forcing a detour through cold cases. There, another tumble, a folder labeled Haunted Broadcasts, pages detailing radio anomalies since the 70s, voices of the missing, calling the living. One transcript, "You're late, deputy," dated tonight. My pulse thuds in my ears, drowning the rustles. I spin, beam catching a glimpse, a hand? No, just a dangling file tag, but it sways as if released. The door to the stairwell is farther now, the basement labyrinthine in ways it wasn't minutes ago. Fog seeps under the frame. Impossible, we're underground, but it curls around my boots, damp and cold, carrying that river tang from the warehouse. I radio up. "Marlene, you copy?" Anomaly in archives. Static replies, then her voice. No, not hers, a mimic. "Deeper, deputy." The files wait. I kill it. Back against a shelf, the file in my arms heavy as lead. Revelation hits full. This precinct basement isn't storage. It's a nexus where unsolved crimes bleed into the present, rearranging to ensnare. Carver didn't vanish. He became the archive, his essence in the dust, the whispers, pulling successors like me into the fold. I bolt for the door, files scattering behind me like breadcrumbs I don't want followed. The knob turns cold under my palm, frost forming, supernatural chill, and as I yank it open, a whisper brushes my ear, close as breath. Patrol continues. Up the stairs two at a time, heart slamming. The basement door clangs shut with finality. Back in the bullpen, lights steady, Marlene glances up. "Find what you needed?" I nod, mute, the Carver file tucked away. But in my pocket, the badge pulses warmer, and on the desk, a fresh note in my script, "Fogbound next." The clock ticks to 12:20 a.m. Fear lingers, a shadow in my peripheral, as I head for the exit. The night shift stretches ahead, the city waiting with its own rearrangements. Outside, the cruiser idles, dashboard glow welcoming. I slide in, the seat still bearing that handprint smear, now drier but indelible. The rain has stopped, fog denser, turning the precinct lot into an island. I think about ditching the file, but it's part of me now, warm against my side. Curiosity about the predictions pulls me back onto the streets, Elm to Precinct Way, then whatever the archives decreed. But fear rides heavier, whispering that the patrol route isn't mine anymore. It's scripted, eternal. The radio stays off, but I feel the static building, ready to call again. The precinct fades in my rear view as I ease the cruiser back onto the streets, the fog now a living thing, curling fingers around street signs and swallowing taillights whole. The Carver file sits on the passenger seat like an unwelcome hitchhiker, pages fluttering slightly in the draft from the vents, as if turning themselves. I glance at it, the fresh ink on the map mocking me with its red highlights. Next stop implied, not stated. Alleys off Precinct Way, the kind where shadows pool deeper than physics allows. The clock edges to 12:21 a.m., time creeping forward like it's reluctant to commit. My hands grip the wheel tighter, knuckles white against the dashboard glow, and the badge in my pocket throbs warm, a metronome syncing with my pulse. Curiosity about the predictions overrides the urge to clock out early. Graveyard shifts don't end just because the night turns strange. Procedure dictates logging anomalies, but who'd believe a self-rearranging archive? I radio Marlene again, 14 en route to routine patrol, alley sector. Her voice crackles back normal, no mimic this time, but the static underneath hums with that breathing rhythm. The city unfolds in muted tones, buildings leaning in like eavesdroppers, and the fog thickens as I turn onto narrower roads. Puddles reflect fragmented street lamps, and my high beams cut swaths that reveal nothing but more mist. A faint scrape echoes from somewhere behind. Metal on brick, but the mirrors show empty streets. The call comes unbidden, radio flickering to life without my touch, static first. Then the whisper, clearer now. Pursuit in progress, shadow suspect, alleys await. Not dispatch protocol. It's the ghostly broadcast again, pulling strings. Fear stirs low in my gut, the kind that makes your boots feel leaden. I should ignore it, head for brighter avenues. But the map in the file pulses in my mind. Alleys marked, inescapable. I veer into the first one-off precinct, a narrow gash between warehouses, garbage bins looming like hunched figures. The cruiser idles slow, tires crunching over debris, and my flashlight sweeps from the window, beam diffused in the fog to a hazy glow. There, a silhouette at the alley's end, indistinct but moving, shoulders in that familiar hunched pose, hat brim low. The void-faced figure from Elm, or its echo. Police. Stop, I yell, flipping on the roof lights, red and blue strobing against the brick like arterial spray. The figure doesn't halt. It glides deeper, vanishing around a bend. Curiosity flares. Catch it. End this. But fear whispers caution. Pursuits in fog are roulette. Visibility zero. Backups delayed. Standard urban pursuit procedure. Radio position. Maintain visual. Await support. I grab the mic. 14 in foot pursuit. Alley off Precinct Way. Suspect evading. Static replies, then my own voice. Closer, deputy. Just like before. I kill the engine, step out, the fog dampening my uniform instantly, cold as grave dirt. Boots splash forward, flashlight leading, the alley twisting sharper than maps recall. The figure reappears fleetingly, 10 yards ahead, then gone. I pick up pace, breath fogging the air, and the scrape returns, now from ahead, like chains dragging. The mythic seeps in. This isn't flesh, it's a shadow unbound, leading me into its domain. Walls close in, graffiti blurring to runes that shift when I blink. Names, dates, all deputies from the files. Carver's at the top, mine scrawled fresh below. Around another bend, the alley opens to a dead end, chain-link fence rattling in unseen wind. The figure stands there, back turned, but as I approach, Glock drawn now, safety off, it turns, and fear clamps my throat. Not void this time. A face, but mine, older, hollow-eyed, uniform tattered. A reflection, but not in glass, freestanding, mimicking my stance seconds ahead. I raise my light. It already has, beam crossing mine in midair. What the hell? I mutter, stepping left. It steps right, mirroring inverted. The supernatural solidifies, a cursed reflection, detached, predicting my moves like a premonition made manifest. I lunge forward. It retreats backward, always maintaining distance, fog swirling around its boots, my boots. The radio hisses, "You're the pursuit now." Revelation builds as I chase. It leads me through forking paths, alleys looping impossibly, the city rearranging like the basement files. This figure isn't fleeing. It's hurting, drawing me deeper into a maze where time and space bend. I think some crimes were never meant to be solved. They reflect back, trapping you in your own image. My breath rasps, legs burning, but the reflection doesn't tire. It anticipates, dodging debris I trip over. Its flashlight beam always one sweep ahead. The fog thickens to soup, visibility feed at best, and sounds distort, sirens distant but directionless. My own footsteps echoing back delayed. I round a corner, and there it is again, closer, the face, my face, twisted in a grin I don't feel. Details sharpen, badge identical, nameplate mine, but eyes empty, voids where pupils should be. It whispers without sound, lips moving. Late again. I fire a warning shot skyward, crack echoing like thunder, but the reflection fires first, muzzle, flash blooming silent. No bullet, just illusion, but my arm recoils anyway, phantom pain. Panic edges fear into frenzy. I backtrack, but alleys have shifted. No cruiser in sight, just endless brick and mist. The reflection appears in periphery now, multiplying. One in a puddle, stepping out. Another in a shattered window, climbing through. They converge, movements prescient, blocking paths. I radio desperately. 14 needs backup, lost in alleys, multiple suspects. Laughter in the static. Mine hollow. Revelation crashes. This pursuit is the vanishing act, the fog of veil where deputies become shadows, echoing for the next. Carver's fate, scripted in reflections. I break into a run, flashlight bobbing, heart pounding codes against my ribs. A glint ahead, chain link again, but beyond, streetlights, real world. I climb, uniform tearing on barbs, and drop to the other side, rolling on wet pavement. The reflections hover at the fence, watching, then dissolve into fog. Breath heaving, I stagger to my feet, orienting, precinct way, but blocks from where I started. The cruiser sits parked nearby, impossibly relocated, engine humming soft. I approach wary, door ajar, and inside. The file opened to a new page. Sketch of the reflection, my face, captioned fogbound. Sliding behind the wheel, I slam the door, lock it, the fog pressing windows like breath. The badge burns hotter, a brand. Curiosity about the loop pulls me onward. What's next in the script? But fear dominates, a weight in my chest. The clock ticks to 12:22 a.m., another minute clawed back. The rear view shows nothing, but I feel eyes, my own, watching from the mist. The patrol continues, unwilling, into whatever distortion awaits. The cruiser hums along precinct way, the fog parting reluctantly before the headlights like a crowd dispersing from a bad scene. The Carver file on the seat has gone still, no more fluttering pages, but the sketch of my reflected face stares up from the dash light, eyes void and knowing. The badge in my pocket radiates heat now, a constant reminder, pulsing in time with the faint static that creeps back into the radio despite the knob being off. Time drags to 12:23 a.m., each minute a concession from whatever force is scripting this night. I should head for the station house, log off, let day shift unravel the knots. But curiosity about the loop tugs harder, whispering that answers lie in following the map's red lines. Alleys fork ahead, and I choose the one unmarked, drawn by an itch I can't name. The alley swallows the cruiser whole, narrower than before, walls brushing the mirrors with whispers of brick dust. I kill the lights, ease forward on low beams, the crunch of gravel under tires like bones settling. Standard crime scene procedure. Approach slow, scan for threats, radio intent. But the radio stays silent when I key it. Only that breathing static replying. Ahead, blue tape flutters in the mist. Police line, fresh, cordoning a dumpster alcove. No call came in for this. It's off script, or deeper in. I park, step out, the fog dampening my steps to muffled thuds. Curiosity peaks as I duck under the tape. Ground-level view shows chalk outlines, two figures, one prone, one standing, smudged but distinct. Bloodstains fan out on pavement, dark and tacky, not yet congealed. Flashlight beam sweeps, evidence markers scattered, yellow numbers glowing like fireflies. A wallet lies open nearby, ID visible. Mine, photo staring back with tonight's exhaustion in the eyes. Fear prickles then, cold as the metal handcuffs on my belt clicking against my hip. This isn't my scene. I haven't been here. Yet. I kneel, gloved hand hovering, and the stains shift subtly, pooling toward my boot as if drawn. The victim outline fills in details. Uniform shreds, badge glint, and the standing figure matches the void-faced shadow, hat brim low. Wind picks up, papers swirling. Incident reports, dated tonight, my signature forged fresh at the bottom. The supernatural descends gradual, a mythic snare. As I stand, the scene resets. Fog rolls thick, obscuring, then clears, and the tape is gone, outlines erased, pavement clean. But the wallet remains, now closed. I blink, check my pocket. My real wallet's there, but this duplicate feels identical, down to the creases. What the? I mutter, sweeping the beam wider. Footsteps echo from the alley mouth. Not mine, approaching. Fear tightens, a vice on my chest. I draw the Glock, back against the wall, shadows lengthening impossibly under street lamp glow that wasn't there seconds ago. The footsteps halt, and a voice calls, "Deputy? That you again?" A figure emerges from the mist, woman, 30s, disheveled coat, eyes wide with recognition I don't share. You said you'd stop it this time. Her words hang, accusatory. I've never seen her. She points to the dumpster. The attack, it's coming. Like last hour. The clock on my watch still reads 12:23. She approaches, hands out, and the scene resets again. Fog surge, clear, and she's gone. But the outlines reappear, now with her formatted, prone beside the first. Revelation stirs. This alley is a time loop, resetting hourly, trapping echoes of failures. Mine, Carver's, others, with victims who remember, accumulate. I back away, but the alley mouth seals in fog, impenetrable. Curiosity flips fully to fear. My hands shake on the grip, beam jittering. The woman reappears, mid-stride, repeating, "Deputy? That you again?" But her eyes hold more, layers of despair, like she's relived this dozen times. You promised, she adds, new detail. I didn't. The attack she mentions manifests, shadows coalesce behind her, the void-faced figure materializing, silent advance. I shout warning, fire into the dark, crack, echo, but bullets pass through, dissipating like smoke. The figure strikes, phantom blow, and she crumples, outline forming real-time. Fog rolls, reset, and she's back, but scarred now, limping. Why can't you stop it? She pleads, grabbing my sleeve, fabric cold as ice. The loop accelerates, resets blurring. Scene clean, then stained, victim multiplying in memory, if not form. She recounts my previous attempts, warnings ignored, pursuits failed, each reset adding her recollection of my ineptitude. Last time you ran, left me. Shame burns, unearned but real. The mythic element deepens. This isn't just repetition. It's a cursed crime scene, where victims accrue awareness, judging the responders who fail eternally. Carver's name slips from her lips. He tried too, decades back. Became the shadow. Revelation builds as loops compound. I'm not saving. I'm perpetuating, my failures etching deeper into the alley's memory. I try variations, radio for backup, static laughs, block the shadow's path. It phases through, question her pre-attack. How do we break it? She shakes her head, eyes hollow. Solve the original. But you forget each time. Forget? Memories flood then. Flashes of prior loops. Warehouse echo. Basement rearrange. All funneling here. Fear peaks in a wave. Breath shallow. As the shadow grows bolder. Brushing my arm in passing. Chill numbing to the bone. The woman weeps now. Resets layering her trauma visible. Bruises fading in. Voice cracking. Please, this hour, end it. I think some crimes were never meant to be solved. They ensnare, looping until you become the crime. Revelation crashes full. The alley isn't trapping her. It's trapping me. The victim a mirror for my guilt, accumulating failures until I vanish into the shadow ranks. Another reset, and she's there, but I see it. A seam in the fog, a glitch where the loop stutters. I charge it, her cries behind. Don't leave again. Through the veil, alley opens to the street, cruiser waiting, engine running. I dive in, slam the door, and peel out, fog tearing like fabric. The clock jumps to 12:24 a.m., loop broken or paused. The woman's face lingers in my mind, her accumulated pain a weight heavier than the badge. The file on the seat flips open unbidden. New page. Loop escaped, but echoes remain. Fear lingers, a passenger now, as I gun toward dawn's distant promise. But the rear view shows her silhouette in the alley mouth, watching, remembering. The city streets unspool wider now, fog thinning to wisps, but the static in the radio builds again, laced with her voice. Next hour, deputy. I crank the volume down, but it echoes in my head, a tinnitus of dread. Curiosity about the final revelation pulls me onward. What waits at sunrise? But fear dominates, whispering that the shift's end might be my own. The badge scalds through fabric, a brand of succession. I head for the outskirts, where alleys give way to open roads, but the map in the file redirects, red lines insistent. The cruiser limps along the riverfront road, tires humming over cracked asphalt, the fog finally thinning to pale ribbons that catch the first gray hint of dawn. 5:47 a.m. glows on the dash clock, and I haven't seen another living soul in hours. The badge in my pocket has cooled to the temperature of a corpse, but the Carver file still breathes beside me, pages rustling like dry leaves every time I exhale. I keep the radio off now. The last thing I heard was the woman from the alley, her voice layered with every loop she'd endured, whispering my name in a tone that sounded like goodbye. I don't want to know what she'd say at this hour. Curiosity is a dull ache behind my eyes. I've followed every red line on the map, every breadcrumb the night left for me, and all roads funnel here. The old patrol turnaround at the edge of the city, where the river bends and the streetlights give up. Procedure says graveyard ends at 0700 sharp. Keys handed off, report filed, coffee with the day shift. But procedure never accounted for a shift that refuses to close. I park nose out to the water, kill the engine, and the sudden silence is so complete I hear my own blood in my ears. The sky bruises lavender above the warehouses, and the river reflects it in sluggish ripples. I step out, boots crunching on gravel that feels familiar, too familiar. This is where Carver's cruiser was found in '78. Keys in the ignition, door ajar, coffee still warm in the cup holder. Urban myth says the river took him. The file says he simply ceased. I lean against the hood, the metal cool through my uniform, and pull the badge from my pocket. J. Carver. The eagle is worn smooth, but the nameplate is sharp, as if it's been waiting for my thumb to trace it. I do, and the metal warms again, not feverish now, but gentle, like a hand on a shoulder. Fear has settled into something quieter, a resigned dread that tastes like copper. I open the file one last time. The pages have stopped rearranging. They've settled on a single sheet I don't remember seeing before. It's a shift log, handwritten, dated tonight. My handwriting, but the entries are from hours I haven't lived yet. 0600, Unit 14 arrives river turnaround. 0615, subject observes own cruiser, empty. 0630, subject enters vehicle, assumes patrol. 0700, shift change. Unit 14 relieved by blank. Below the blank, a final line in fresh ink. The midnight patrol never ends. It only changes drivers. I look up. 20 yards down the bank, another cruiser idles. My cruiser, same dent in the fender, same coffee stain on the dash mat. The driver's seat is occupied. The figure wears my uniform, my posture, my exhaustion. It turns its head, and the face is mine, older by a night, eyes hollowed by every loop, every failure, every victim's plea. It raises a hand in a slow salute, then starts the engine and pulls away, taillights swallowed by the last curl of fog. The river reflects the motion, then smooths to glass. Revelation arrives soft as sunrise. I'm not the ghost on the midnight patrol. I'm the handoff. Carver didn't vanish. He finished his loop and passed the badge. The deputies in the files, the shadows in the alleys, the woman who remembered my broken promises, they were all relays in the same eternal shift. The city needs its midnight watcher, and the night chooses carefully. Someone stubborn enough to chase whispers, curious enough to open cursed files, afraid enough to keep running. Someone who thinks some crimes were never meant to be solved, and therefore keeps trying anyway. I walk to where my cruiser was parked moments ago. The gravel still holds the warmth of tires. My keys are in my hand, but the keyring now carries two badges, mine and Carver's, clipped together like old partners. The mythic and the mundane braid tight. This is real procedure now, unwritten but binding. I slide behind the wheel of the original cruiser, my cruiser, and the seat fits like it's been waiting. The coffee in the cup holder is still warm. The radio flickers to life on its own, static resolving into a calm, familiar voice. Mine, but steadier. Unit 14, 10 to 8, Riverfront. All quiet. I key the mic, 10 to 4. Heading in. My voice overlaps with the broadcast, a half-second delay, like an echo learning the words. I think of the woman in the alley, her face softening as the loop finally breaks for her. I think of Marlene upstairs, clocking out, never knowing the archives rearranged themselves back to dust. I think of the next deputy who will hear the whisper at 12:17 a.m., find the warm badge, chase the shadow that looks like me. Dawn creeps over the warehouses, pale gold on rusted cranes. I start the engine, pull a slow U-turn, and head toward the precinct. The fog lifts street by street, revealing a city that looks almost ordinary. The badge on my chest, my own, feels lighter now, as if it's finally mine to wear. In the rear view, the river glints, and for a moment I swear I see a cruiser behind me, taillights fading, driver saluting. Then it's gone. Shift's over. For now. The cruiser rolls to a stop in the precinct lot just as the sun clears the rooftops, painting the brick in soft peach light. I kill the engine and sit, letting the quiet settle. No static, no whispers, just the distant clatter of the day shift arriving, doors slamming, laughter that sounds foreign after a night of silence. The Carver file is closed on the seat, edges neat, as if it never spilled its secrets. I unclip both badges, lay Carver's